Hello and welcome to another episode of Living Well with Dr. Mike. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Cockrell, and I want to thank you for joining me here today for this next episode in the series entitled Living Well with Dr. Mike. Today we are going to be talking about how to treat a sinus infection without medication. At the time of this recording, it is sinus season where I'm working in North Mississippi. And we see so many of our patients that come in every day dealing with these same symptoms. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you a little insight today into what's causing these things and some ways that you can go about starting your own treatment at home without just rushing to your doctor and getting loaded up with a bunch of antibiotics, because we know the constant overuse of antibiotics is creating a whole host of problems, and we're going to try to help understand a little better about what's going on and how we can help do this without medication. So sinus infections in general affect some 37 million Americans each and every year. So it is a huge problem. And when we just treat this with antibiotics, we just complicate those problems. So let's look at a few of the symptoms of a sinus infection. Typically, you know you're beginning to develop a sinus infection when you start noticing the congestion and pressure in your head, especially your forehead, behind your eyes, in your cheeks. You're going to have cold symptoms, stuffy, runny nose, watery eyes, that kind of stuff. You may develop a thick green or yellow mucus. You may have constant postnasal drip. You're constantly clearing your throat all day long. It never seems to go away. You may notice an unusually unexpected toothache that oftentimes is a sign that you're building up pressure in your maxillary sinuses that's irritating the nerves in your gum line. And you may notice that you just feel tired, drained, run down, and out of energy. That fatigue that comes with just not breathing well, not sleeping well, not resting well. Those kind of things are the kind of things you're going to typically notice when you have a sinus infection. So how do we go about treating these without prescription medications? So, what can you do to start the process before you end up having to break down and go to your physician for further treatment? First and foremost, drink some hot liquids. Things such as tea, coffee, hot chicken soup. Those things will help moisturize your mucous membranes. They speed up the movement of the cilia so you're able to clear your sinuses a little more easily. You know, anything that you can do to break up the mucus and get it to drain is actually beneficial in this scenario. You may want to apply warm compresses to your face. Doing this about 3 times a day for just 4 or 5 minutes can help as well. It helps increase the circulation to your sinuses. It's going to help speed up that movement of the cilia to help sweep stuff out. It's going to begin to break down some of that congestion that's in there and help you clear your sinuses. You may want to irrigate your sinuses. Now, I'm going to actually do an entire topic about irrigation because I think it's one of the most beneficial things that you can do to help decrease your sinus congestion and keep you off of prescription medications. But there's a right and a wrong way, and there's some pros and cons that we'll talk about in another episode. But irrigating your sinuses can help open up those nasal passages. You want to make sure that you use just a normal saline solution that doesn't contain any kind of preservatives and that kind of stuff. You want to make sure that you're using it properly, because if used properly, the irrigation will break up mucus. It'll decrease the swelling in your nasal passages. It'll help you breathe easier and makes life much more tolerable when you're dealing with a sinus infection. Aromatherapy steam baths may be beneficial to help open up congested nasal passages. You can put a couple of drops of eucalyptus or menthol in an aromatherapy steam bath. Heat that water up, and you can do this. There's some commercial products out there, but I mean, you can do this as simply as taking a pot of water, putting it on your stove, bringing it to a boil, adding your aromatherapy, the essential oils to the steam bath, and just sort of throwing a towel over your head and inhaling the vapors that are produced as that comes up off of there. In our part of the world, you can even dab a little Vicks Vapor Rub on your skin underneath your nose, and that will oftentimes help open you up because of the menthol in there. It helps you breathe easier and gives you a little relief from the congestion. Eat certain foods. Now, this may sound a little bit funny, but you can unclog your sinuses with the right foods. Things like horseradish, some of the Japanese wasabi mustard, some spicy peppers. Those kind of things will stimulate mucus production or thin the mucus production and help increase your ability to breathe. They give you some relief and open up those congested sinuses as well. You want to make sure that you elevate your head at night when you're sleeping, because the flatter you lay, the more likely you are to develop congestion. So getting your head up allows things to drain a little more effectively so that you're not as congested when you first get up in the morning. And then finally, you want to make sure that you are dusting your bedroom. Dust and dust mites both can wreak havoc on your mucous membranes, especially when you're asleep and your cilia are at rest. Using a HEPA filter, air purifier, is beneficial in your room. Keeping that bedroom as allergen free as possible will help decrease the congestion and the other symptoms of a sinus infection. So, let's look at a couple of more strategies that may help you make some significant change in this process as well. You know, you're going to hear me talk a lot as we go through our series about how food affects us, because I am convinced food is a drug and the things that we eat have significant impacts on us other than just from a nutritional standpoint. Poor quality food, excessive exposure to toxic chemicals, high speed lifestyle in combination with poor adaptation to stress puts you at greater risk for infections, but also puts you at greater risk for a lot of chronic diseases. When you are stressed out, running and ripping, not eating well, your body's adrenal system, your immune system suffers. You become less effective at fighting off infection, and you're going to increase your risk of developing some problems. Therefore, maintaining a robust immune system and creating an environment that does not just welcome in bacteria and viruses and fungus will help you decrease the likelihood of getting an infection. So, here's a few things that you may want to consider doing from a lifestyle standpoint. You may want to avoid eating too much sugar and avoid eating certain grains. Sugar, we know, is a fuel source for us energetically. So if it's feeding us, it's also feeding any bacteria, viruses, fungus that's in your system is going to thrive when you have too much sugar. So cutting back on the sugar will limit their food supply and help your body fight them off even better. There are some grains that are really heavily loaded with mycotoxins. In fact, some of the things that you want to make sure you're paying attention to and possibly avoiding because of mold contamination would be wheat and corn, barley, peanuts, particularly. Some of the alcoholic beverages sometimes will aggravate this because they tend to be a little more contaminated with mold. Some of the cheeses that you come in contact with, pay real close attention to that. The bread products, if you've ever noticed when you keep cheese or bread products around too long, they develop mold. Well, guess what? If you add those to your system, then they're just a food source for more mold and stuff to grow. So avoiding sugar and grains may help us in the long run. Increasing omega-3 fatty acids. Omega 3s in the form of krill oil, fish oil, or any other good quality omega 3 product. To make sure that if you're using omega 3s, use a good quality product. If you taste, belch, or burp fish when you're taking a substance, that usually is a sign of poor quality and you need to find another brand. The omega 3s are great for decreasing the inflammatory response. They're very beneficial in a whole host of things. Protect your heart, protect your brain, protect your joints. Just increase your omega 3s. They're going to help you in a ton of ways. Eat coconut oil. Coconut oil is rich in lauric acid. Lauric acid is known to be an antiviral, an antibacterial, and an antifungal compound. It has properties that really help your body fight infection. So adding more coconut oil to your diet may be beneficial. We have started in our household, we pretty much cook when we cook with oil, we're using coconut oil. I have coconut oil every morning in my coffee. We add it throughout other recipes throughout the day. If we're going to saute vegetables, we're doing it with coconut oil. Anything you can do to increase your coconut oil is going to be beneficial to your health. And there's a lot of information about that, and you'll be hearing more from me specifically about the benefits of coconut oil. Get more sleep. This is something you're also going to hear me say over and over and over and over. We have study after study after study that shows that people who get less than 7 hours of sleep have an increased risk of chronic disease. They don't have as good of an immune system. Your stress response is compromised. There's a whole host of things that not sleeping is damaging your health. If you have poor quality sleep, where you're going to bed with TV on, with the lights on, with your iPhone in your hand, with your iPad there, anytime you take those devices to bed with you, you disrupt your natural sleep wake cycle. Melatonin gets suppressed. You don't rest well. You don't get a deep sleep. And over time, you are compromising your immune system. You're going to increase your risk of infection, yada, 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 so on and so forth. There's a lot of things. Just get more sleep and do it in a good quality way. And finally, get more exercise. We all know this is true. And just getting up and moving more. Activity is an essence of life. As you age, especially as you get into your 50s and 60s and 70s, exercise activity, I'm not saying you got to get up and go to the gym and spend an hour a day, but just getting up out of your chair, moving around more, increasing the time you spend walking, working outdoors, gardening. Just get more active, because activity will help boost your immune system naturally. It helps boost your feel good hormones. It helps decrease the stress in your life. So many benefits to exercising. There's not enough time to talk about it here. We'll deal with it later on in another segment. But for now, get more exercise, help decrease the risk of sinus infection, and treat these sinus infections without medication whenever you can. Listen, I hope this information has been beneficial to you. I hope you will take this knowledge and put it into action, because knowledge without action is worthless. So you got to act on it if you want to get benefit from it. I'd love for you to connect with me for more information about what we're doing with Living Well with Dr. Mike. You can access our website at livingwellwithdrmike.com. I would invite you to connect with me on Facebook at Living Well with Dr. Mike as well, so that we can share thoughts, ideas, insights. I would love to hear the struggles you're dealing with. I want to know what you're having problems with. And as you share that information with me, I'll be sure to work on doing the research and helping address that in a manner that's easy to understand, that's simple to do. And I want to give you strategies and techniques so that you can create a life of health and happiness, one step at a time. Listen, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Living Well with Dr. Mike. Until then, take care and have a great life.